Good evening, distinguished guests, honorees, and friends and colleagues in the University of Massachusetts Boston community. Welcome to our celebration of achievement for the 54th commencement at UMass Boston. Before we begin, please join me in a moment of silence for the victims, families, communities recently impacted by the horrific mass shooting in Uvalde, Texas, Buffalo, New York, and Laguna Woods, California. Thank you. I want to acknowledge the amazing UMass Boston Jazz Quartet here this evening. Who have been moving us with their music. I also want to thank Sue Hellman of the EMK for the wonderful, wonderful opportunity to have our event here this evening. I also want to acknowledge and to thank all of the workers that have prepared our food and are serving our food with such love and dedication. I'd like to acknowledge some of our distinguished guests. First and foremost, our honorees. Congratulations to the honorary degree recipients and the faculty award winners. Enjoy tonight's celebration of your achievements. And thank you to our special guests, many of whom have traveled great distances to join us in this celebration. Members of the University of Massachusetts trustee are with us this evening. It is so good to see you. Trustee Mary Burns, and student trustee Jake Bates. Members of UMass Boston's Board of Visitors, Charlie Desmond. Where are you, Charlie? Oh, here you are. Gerald Gom. Gerald. And Maureen Melton. Members of the Alumni Association Board, Joe O'Brien and Jim O'Sullivan. And many of my colleagues including deans, vice chancellors, faculty members, and staff members. Thank you for joining us. My thanks to all of you for joining us on this special occasion when we celebrate the extraordinary accomplishments of our commencement honorees. As we gather on the eve of one of the most anticipated days on the university calendar, we applaud the achievements of our graduates and celebrate our university's mission. We also recall the values that have sustained us since our founding. Our commitment to academic excellence, affordable access to a quality education, public service, and social justice. We are proud to honor the members of the university community and our honorary degree and Chancellor medal recipients whose achievements exemplified their dedication to diversity and inclusion, to community, to engagement, to the common good. Let me add that there will be no breaks during the program. Sorry. So please eat as we go, and fasten your seatbelts. It is now my pleasure to introduce our first speaker, University of Massachusetts trustee, Mary Burns. Mary.
Thank you, Mary. Thank you. Good evening, everybody. On behalf of the University of Massachusetts Board of Trustees, Chair Rob Manning, President Mann, and the entire board, I am pleased to be here at the 2022 Honorary Degree Dinner, and it's great to be back in person. I hope you are all enjoying Commencement Week as much as I am. I just want you to know that after tomorrow, I've been to 12 of these things, so I love them all. It is indeed an honor and a privilege to be hosting such an extraordinary group of honorees whose accomplishments reflect the values and ideals we try to instill in our students at UMass Boston. We are proud to welcome you all to the UMass Boston family. You should know that in being awarded with honorary degrees from this university, you've already made an impact on our campus community as people who have led consequential lives, people who have worked in the education advocacy spaces to make life better for the marginalized. And so we are pleased to be able to recognize you in a way that distinguishes both your professional achievements and your service to society. We are delighted to celebrate your careers and your contributions to both UMass Boston and to your communities and countries. And we look forward to hearing from you this evening. Thank you for all that you do. Go Beacons, and on behalf of the Board of Trustees, congratulations to all of you.
Thank you, Trustee Burns. It is now my pleasure to recognize our commencement student speakers and the 2022 faculty recipients of the Chancellor's Award for Distinguished Teaching, Distinguished Scholarship, and Distinguished Service. Tomorrow, M.G. Hyung will receive the highest commencement award for undergraduates, the John F. Kennedy Award for Academic Excellence, and address the class of 2022. MG has shown a commendable dedication to service during their time at Columbia Point. They served UMass Boston in a variety of ways, from organizing the Transgender Day of Visibility 2022 to serving as a member of the Vice Chancellor for Student Affairs Leadership Council. They also served on campus as the Program and Communication Coordinator for the Asian American Student Success Program and as the Chapter Director of the DEI Coordinator for Strong Women, Strong Girls. MG will graduate with a BA in Philosophy and Public Policy, a minor in Spanish. Español, sí. Buenísimo, MG, buenísimo. And a minor in Women, Gender, and Sexuality Studies. MG, your accomplishments reflect their all-around excellence, a beacon who is truly dedicated to the service of our university, our city, our world. MG has already begun building on their work as a transgender activist, joining, I'm happy to announce, the Massachusetts Transgender Political Coalition as its program manager. In this role, they will continue to serve trans and queer individuals in our Commonwealth. Congratulations, MG, not only as our 2022 JFK Award recipient, but also for this new appointment with the Massachusetts Transgender Political Coalition. Here I'm supposed to say, please stand to be recognized. But as always, the Chancellor is just a little too late. Thank you. Thank you. See you tomorrow. Bright and early, 7:30. Tomorrow, Courtney Humphries, an engaged scholar and citizen whose work embodies UMass Boston's mission to, quote, create new knowledge while serving the public good of our city, our Commonwealth, our nation, and our world, will earn her doctorate in environmental science. A non-traditional student who began her graduate program later in life, Courtney was a science journalist reporting on the environment and environmental health and policy before enrolling as a PhD student in 2017. At UMass Boston, her research has addressed several critically important environmental and community development issues, such as mapping out vacant lots for social and environmental justice on the Fairmont Greenway project, and balancing urban waterfront development, climate change mitigation, and racial inequality in the city of Boston. Over the past 5 years, Courtney's insights into these and other issues have been featured in the Boston Globe, WBUR, Cognoscenti, and PRI's Living on Earth, and many other venues, informing scholars, practitioners, and the rest of us, citizens in Boston and beyond, and literally helping reshape our city, the city in which she lives and works. Unfortunately, Courtney could not be here with us this evening. Thank you, Courtney. At tomorrow's graduate ceremony, we will celebrate outstanding members of our faculty for the 2021 and 2022 who have demonstrated exceptional contributions in one of the three primary areas of faculty responsibility: distinguished scholarship, distinguished teaching and service. I would like now to recognize our Chancellor Award recipients. Please stand as your names are read. The 2021 recipient of the Chancellor's Award for Distinguished Scholarship is Professor of Physics, Christopher Fuchs. Professor Fuchs is an innovator in the fields of quantum communication, quantum information, and an approach to the interpretation of quantum mechanics known as quantum Bayesianism. I probably totally botched up that. It's also known as cubism. I know a thing or two about that cubism. Not about the other cubism, the quantum cubism. Bala, we can talk. You can just give me the cliff notes. You can do that? Okay. It is this area in that Professor Fuchs has made his most impactful foundational contributions to the field of physics and attracted the greatest admiration. Unfortunately, Professor Fuchs could not be here with us this evening. The 2021 recipient of the Chancellor's Award for Distinguished Teaching is Professor Helen Poynton. At our school for the environment. Professor Poynton has distinguished herself as an innovative and deeply committed teacher, field research supervisor, and mentor to her students. She has also made transformative contributions as director of undergraduate programs in the School for the Environment and of the Coastal Research for Environmental Science and Technology Research Education for undergraduates. Her investment in student success, her centering on equity and inclusion in science education, her pedagogical creativity and engagement during remote instruction make the choice of Professor Poynton particularly compelling at this time. Thank you. Thank you for all you do. The 2021 recipients of the Chancellor's Award for Distinguished Service are Professors Tony van der Meer and Keith Jones. At a fraught moment of reckoning with racial and social injustice in our country and beyond, Professors Jones and van der Meer created space for a community-wide dialogue on racial and social justice and public health equity. They created structures and exercised leadership by convening the Undoing Racism Assembly, a series of important conversations that have provided a planning forum for programmatic and actionable strategies to address social justice, public health, and racial equity on our campus. They also facilitated the Sankofa and the homecoming conversations, bringing to this work years of dedicated service on behalf of Boston's vulnerable and marginalized communities. For your work, thank you. The 2022 recipient of the Chancellor's Award for Distinguished Service is Professor Pratima Prasad. Dr. Prasad, you have developed a plethora of student success initiatives to capture the best of UMass Boston's community over the years. Her vigorous work to strengthen her field of scholarship by increasing the membership of junior faculty and conference organizations for an international stage have been especially effective and especially important. In all her service activities, she is committed to facilitating and constructing consensus within groups. Dr. Prasad stepped up and played a vital role in assisting the transition to new leadership in the College of Liberal Arts, providing much stability and support. She focuses her work on equity and inclusion in the true spirit and tradition of UMass Boston. For that and so much more, we are grateful. The 2022 recipient of the Chancellor's Award for Distinguished Teaching is Professor of Psychology Laurel Wainwright. With her 36 years at UMass Boston, Professor Wainwright has been a stellar example in providing accessible, engaging, and compassionate education with a student-centered teaching perspective. As a psychology professor, she has taught more than 14 courses, as well as contributing to the development of 21 additional courses. She teaches statistics at the graduate and undergraduate level. I could have taken your class when I was a psych undergraduate at Berkeley 100 years ago. Thank you. The 2022 recipient of the Chancellor's Award for Distinguished Scholarship is Professor Mark Warren. Professor Warren is a model of a community-engaged scholarship who produces rigorous and impactful research through deep, organic, authentic partnerships with community organizing groups where parents and students of color work to address deep-seated systems of racial injustice and create community-based solutions that transform public education towards racial equity and educational justice. Thank you. In their distinguished careers, our honorary degree and Chancellor's Medal recipients embody the values we hold dear at UMass Boston. We are proud we're honored to recognize them for their contributions. They, in turn, bring honor to our commencement programs, where each has been and will be celebrated. It is my pleasure to introduce Margarite Boucheron Cléry. And Hélène Boucheron Salis. Education and human rights advocate Marie Margarite of Haiti was 8 years old when the Duvalier regime executed your father. She views education and awareness of national history as fundamental for improving Haitian life. As the founder and president of the Professional Association of Private Schools, she has worked to strengthen early education across Haiti, and as the founder of the Duty of Memory Foundation, together with her sister, Guylienne, and others, she strives to raise awareness of Haiti's painful past and to enable families of victims to be heard, to have a forum. Guylienne, like her sister, Marie Margarite, experienced firsthand the pain of losing her father to the Duvalier regimes of violence and terror in Haiti. She has dedicated her life to fighting for justice and educating the current generations about Haiti's past. In the 1980s, she co-founded the Do Not Forget Committee to commemorate the thousands of victims of the Duvalier terrorist dictatorship. In 2013, she joined her sister and others to co-found the Duty of Memory Foundation to educate the public in Haiti and throughout the world about the past and provide validation, acknowledgement to the families of victims. In recognition to her determined efforts to improve Haitian education, ensure that Haiti's past is not forgotten, and to promote national healing in Haiti, Marie Margarite received an honorary Doctor of Humane Letters earlier today. And in recognition for her courageous efforts on behalf of victims' rights, her brave fight for justice and healing for the families of political terror and violence, and her ongoing work to educate future generations about a terrible period in Haiti's history, Guylienne received an honorary Doctor of Humane Letters earlier today. Marie Margarite will deliver remarks in French on behalf of herself and her sister. Our colleague, Professor Jean-Philippe Belot, will translate. Please, ladies and gentlemen, I give you Marie Margarite Clérier.
Monsieur le Président de l'Université de Massachusetts, Monsieur le Recteur, Madame the Interim Chancellor, distingués invités. C'est un privilège d'être ici avec vous aujourd'hui. Ma sœur Guylaine et moi sommes profondément reconnaissantes à l'Université du Massachusetts de nous décerner aujourd'hui le diplôme honorifique de docteur en lettres humaines. Ce diplôme est une reconnaissance de notre combat pour que l'histoire d'Haïti ne soit jamais oubliée. Une histoire si forgée de violence, d'oppression et d'atrocités humanitaires que certains préféreraient oublier. Que cette noble cause soit reconnue et validée par une institution aussi prestigieuse que celle-ci est à la fois inespérée et inattendue. Pour ce grand honneur, nous sommes immensément touchés et profondément reconnaissantes à tous ceux qui ont participé au processus de notre sélection, en particulier à Jean-Philippe Belot et à Anne Fuller.
It's a privilege to be here with you today. My sister Guylaine and I are profoundly grateful to the University of Massachusetts for bestowing upon us today the founders of a human rights NGO dedicated to the fight against impunity, the honorary degree of Doctor of Human Letters. This honor is a recognition of our fight to ensure that Haiti's history is never forgotten. A history wrought with violence, oppression, and atrocities that some would like us to forget today. This recognition you are bestowing upon us today was unexpected. For this great honor, we are immensely touched and deeply grateful to all those who were involved in the selection process. This honor, we will receive it first and foremost in the name of Haiti, our beloved country, still ravaged by violence and division today, and in the name of all the sons and daughters of our beloved homeland who are fighting for justice, dignity, and a better life. But you should know that the honor you are bestowing upon us today is also security for us. Recognition is security in a society where our work is not safe.
Permettez donc, distingués invités, que je vous parle un peu de nous. Ma sœur Guylaine avait à peine 18 ans et moi tout juste 8 ans, quand notre père disparut dans le coffre d'une voiture le 26 avril 1963, sous la dictature sanguinaire de François Duvalier, laissant ma mère seule à élever 11 enfants. Notre cocon familial paisible, harmonieux et serein s'est ainsi brisé pour laisser place à un quotidien incertain et fait de peur de toutes sortes. Peur des macoutes qui imposaient partout leurs lois, peur des hommes en uniforme qui braquaient constamment leurs armes sur tout et tous, et peur sans fin de perdre notre mère, notre ultime socle qui vivait comme si elle aussi était en prison, se privant de tout pour partager la souffrance de notre père dans l'attente de son retour. Alors que les jours se sont transformés en semaines, les semaines en années, et que notre mère est décédée depuis, nous nous retrouvons pleinement adultes et nous attendons toujours son retour. La douleur de grandir sans père, dont le seul crime était de servir son pays comme ingénieur du corps de génie de l'armée d'Haïti, gagnant à peine $200 par mois, nous a donné une forte envie de nous battre, de nous assurer que les futures générations d'Haïtiennes et d'Haïtiens n'auront jamais à vivre sous une dictature aussi cruelle.
Allow me to share with you our personal journey through the tumultuous history of my country. My sister Guylaine was barely 18, and I was just 8 years old when our father disappeared in the trunk of a car on April 26, 1963, under the brutal dictatorship of François Duvalier, leaving my mother alone to raise 11 children. Our peaceful family life, harmonious and serene, was destroyed that day and replaced with a life of uncertainty and fear. Fear of the Haitian militia known as the Tonton Macoute, who imposed their rule. Fear of the men in uniform who pointed their weapons at everything and everyone around them. And endless fear of losing our mother, who deprived herself of everything to raise us. All this while we were waiting for our father's return. As the days turn into weeks and the weeks into years, and our mother long since passed away, we find ourselves fully grown up and still waiting. The pain of growing up without a father, whose only crime was serving his country in the Corps of Engineers of the Haitian Army, earning a meager $200 per month, made us angry. It is this anger that we have channeled in the fight to make sure that future generations of Haitians will never have to live under such a cruel dictatorship.
En 2013, Guylaine et moi avions réalisé que 50 ans après ce 26 avril 1963, qui fut une journée noire dans notre histoire de peuple, journée au cours de laquelle plus de 500 personnes furent tuées par les tontons macoutes de Duvalier ou portées disparues, et 50 ans après la disparition de notre père, nous avons réalisé que cette histoire n'avait jamais été dite, jamais été racontée. Nous avons dès lors décidé qu'il était temps d'en parler, qu'il était temps de la raconter pour redonner à ces victimes d'innocentes leur place dans notre histoire. C'est ainsi qu'une commémoration solennelle a eu lieu le 26 avril 2013 en présence des enfants des victimes de Duvalier. Cette commémoration, nous la devions à notre père, qui n'était coupable de rien, et nous la devions aussi à notre mère, qui est morte sans avoir jamais su ce qu'il était advenu du père de son époux bien-aimé.
April 26, 1963 was a dark day in Haitian history. On that day, more than 500 people were killed or went missing because of the Tonton Macoute of the Duvalier regime. On that day, countless families were decimated and future generations destroyed. Hundreds of families were forced into exile. In 2013, 50 years later, we realized that this story had never been told and that the time had come to break the silence. It was time to talk about the events of that day. It was time to give back to the innocent victims their place in the history of our country. And so, on April 26, 2013, we organized the first ever commemoration in presence of the children of these victims. This commemoration, we owe it to our father, who was not guilty of anything and who died innocently, and we owe it also to our mother, who passed away, never knowing what had happened to her beloved husband.
En préparant cette commémoration, nous avons découvert que les événements survenus durant la période de 1957 à 1986 avaient été systématiquement omis des livres d'histoire. Un fait qui a tenu les jeunes générations dans l'ignorance des réalités de l'époque. Face à cette instabilité politique difficile, la jeunesse haïtienne, inconsciente de son histoire, demande un retour au bon vieux temps de la dictature Duvalier. Il nous fallait dès lors rétablir la vérité, rétablir les faits. Le temps était venu de lâcher prise sur les peurs de la prise de parole qui paralysait notre génération depuis si longtemps, de trouver le courage de parler des atrocités de la dictature des Duvalier et de donner enfin la parole aux victimes de ce massacre. Nous avons vu cela comme notre obligation morale d'éduquer le peuple haïtien sur son histoire et d'établir la vérité afin que les événements de cette journée ne se reproduisent plus jamais. Ainsi est née la Fondation Devoir de Mémoire Haïti, la responsabilité de se souvenir.
When we prepared for this commemoration, we realized that the atrocities committed by that regime that ruled Haiti from 1957 to 1986 had been systematically omitted from history books, a fact which kept the younger generations ignorant of the reality of the time. In the face of challenging political instability, the Haitian youth, oblivious to their history, are asking for a return to the good old days of the Duvalier dictatorship. We had to set the facts straight. The time had come to let go of the fears of speaking out that had paralyzed our generation for so long, to find the courage to speak up about the atrocities of the regime, and to finally give a voice to the fallen victims of this endless massacre. We saw this as our moral obligation to educate the Haitian people about their history and to establish the truth so that such events would never happen again. So was born the Foundation Le Devoir de Mémoire, the duty to remember.
Sur demande de la Fondation Devoir de Mémoire Haïti et par décret présidentiel du mois d'avril 2015, le 26 avril a été déclaré Journée nationale du souvenir en mémoire des victimes de la dictature duvalieriste. Et depuis ses débuts, la Fondation a publié plusieurs livrets dédiés à la jeunesse, racontant les différents faits et événements de la dictature. Nous avons recueilli différents témoignages de victimes et nous organisons régulièrement des rencontres au sein des écoles et des universités pour faire connaître cette tranche de notre histoire à la jeunesse de notre pays. Aujourd'hui encore, et malgré l'ambiance chaotique autour de nous, et malgré un quotidien angoissant, nous continuons de faire connaître cette vérité. Le chemin à parcourir est encore très long et la charge de travail très lourde. Mais poser les bases de l'avenir nous donne une grande satisfaction.
Since inception, the Foundation made April 26 a National Day of Remembrance for the victims of the Duvalier dictatorship. We have published several history books that depict accurately the events of that period and have several more in the works. We have encouraged survivors to speak publicly and regularly, including at local schools all over the country, and to share testimonies with the public. Today, despite the endemic insecurity in which we live, we voluntarily continue to work on spreading this truth. There's still a long way to go, but we are determined.
Distingués invités, permettez-nous de voir, dans l'honneur que vous nous faites, qu'effectivement, le travail de mémoire honore une nation et honore son peuple. Il permet le rassemblement de tous, il participe de la reconnaissance du parcours de chacun. Il soude un peuple à son histoire, il lui donne son identité. Et c'est là mon combat avec ma sœur Guylaine et les autres membres de la Fondation Devoir de Mémoire Haïti pour notre pays, pour notre patrie. Et cet honneur ne fait que renforcer notre détermination à bien le mener pour préserver notre mémoire et un vivre ensemble harmonieux.
Distinguished guests, in bestowing upon us this remarkable honor, you validate the work we have been doing and our conviction that the duty to remember is about honoring an entire nation and honoring its people. It allows everyone to come together to recognize each person's journey and to connect the people to its roots and history. That is what we at Devoir de Mémoire, duty to remember, stand for. And this honor only strengthen our determination to carry it out to preserve our history.
Et avant de conclure, permettez-moi aussi, distingués invités, de rendre ici un vibrant hommage à ma sœur Guylaine, ici présente avec moi, pour son engagement sans faille et sa détermination chaque jour renouvelée de faire avancer notre travail pour que la vérité soit connue, que la justice soit rendue et l'état de droit établi. Et pour finir, au nom de toute l'équipe de la Fondation Devoir de Mémoire Haïti et en mon nom personnel, je vous remercie tous, une fois de plus, du fond du cœur, de l'honneur que vous nous faites en nous accueillant aujourd'hui dans votre prestigieuse université.
Before concluding, allow me to pay special a special and vibrant tribute to my sister Guylaine, here with me today for unfailing commitment and her renewed determination to advance our work so the truth may be known, for justice to be done, and for the rule of law to be finally established in our country. Finally, on behalf of our entire organization and on my behalf, I thank you all once again from the bottom of our hearts for welcoming us today to your prestigious university.
Thank you.
Thank you, Margarite, and thank you, Jean-Philippe. You honor us with your presence. It is my pleasure to present to both Marie-Margarite and Guylaine their honorary Doctor of Humane Letters degrees from UMass Boston. It is now my pleasure to introduce Robert Hildreth. Bob is a passionate advocate for higher education. He left a successful career in finance to devote himself to higher education causes and founded 3 organizations with complementary missions to enable low-income students to attend college. La Vida Scholars, Inversant, and the Hildreth Institute. His foundations have helped disadvantaged students navigate the college preparation process, financial aid system, has increased parental engagement in the college process, and through his work, he has advocated for student debt relief. Thank you for all you do, and thank you for the exemplary citizenship in connecting with and helping all students in the Commonwealth achieve their dreams. Dear colleagues, I give you a good friend, Robert Hildreth.
So I called the UMass Boston office, and I said, how long am I supposed to speak for? And they said 3 to 5, which I understood as hours. Apparently they meant minutes, but hey, I'm up here. Now, that gives me a preamble that I want to just talk in honoring my Haitian co-honorees about Haiti. First, the French. How I love to hear it. I'm now reading a book of Father Goriot of Balzac. And French is the language of Balzac, Zola, Victor Hugo, giants of world literature. And it was all written originally in French. So we owe a great tradition to you. The second thing about Haiti I want to say, and this says a little bit about the process of my philanthropy, is that I have no agency. I go into places where I think there is a great need, and I do it where I interpose myself with people who really know what they're doing. So after the earthquake, I went down to the Haitian Chamber of Commerce in Mattapan, and I said to the businessmen, what are we going to do? This might be a big opportunity to grow Haiti. So we sent a lot of supplies down to Haiti, but we also ended up developing different industries. So I had a piece of a goat farm. Now, I don't know anything about goats, but they sent me pictures, and it made me very happy. So I hope all of you as intellectual people, raise your hands if you've seen over the past week the New York Times fantastic series on Haiti and the reparations they're owed from France. This is a story that should be remembered. Now, let me begin my remarks. To Trustee Burns, to Chancellor Suarez, to Provost Berger, to all of you that probably in your work deserve the honorary degree more than I do for how you have advanced the cause of education, I greet you tonight. But the first thing I'd like to do, and I need your help for this, is I want to shout out, glory to UMass! Glory to Ukraine! Say it, glory to UMass! Glory to UMass! Glory to UMass! Wasn't it inspiring today to see all those receiving their doctorates today? I have been a trustee at a bunch of institutions, and I never saw such a diverse group of doctorates as I saw today. UMass Boston is so important. I would also like to thank the university for the honorary doctorate they bestowed on me. Don't laugh. I stand before you on the shoulders of other old men. It's shaky up here. Who came before me? In that vein, I would like to acknowledge my dear friend, Charlie Desmond, past chair of the State Board of Higher Education, who works with me now in one of my foundations. Stand up, Charlie, for God's sakes. All right, sit down. In all seriousness, UMass Boston is very important to me. Over 30 years ago, I first visited the campus to attend the nursing graduation of a group of Latino women receiving their LPN nursing certificates. At that time, the person who gave it away to show how old I am was Mr. Menino, but he was only a counselor at that time, not the mayor. Many of my projects and causes brought me back time and time again. After a life spent working in Latin America, I felt right at home with the diverse students I met. Most recently, I have sought to provide opportunities for these students by expanding scholarships and supporting the Gaston Institute. The great Lorna Rivera. Stand up, Lorna. Let's see you. Stand up, stand up. All right. UMass Boston plays an essential role as a commuter school. It is no secret that low-income families gravitate to it as a way to save on room and board, just as my father and father-in-law did when they went to BU in Northeastern in times gone by. Can you believe they were the commuter schools of their time? They provided a cheap and welcome education to the lower middle class. Now, of course, that space is left to UMass Boston. What a special space that is. Where am I? Okay. I urge UMass Boston to temper the urge. Oh, I put two urges in that sentence. Damn it all. I commend UMass Boston to temper the urge to seek financial benefits from admitting out-of-state students, instead remain a beacon for local students. I go on. A critical aspect of my work is to encourage low-income families to get their children to college by offering them financial incentives. If they save, we match, and through policy work to lower the cost of college. It was inspiring to see the attendance today of all the families at the graduation ceremony. My wife, Diane, she doesn't have to stand, she'd kill me, but that's my wife right there in the green. Helped me obtain 3 degrees. This is not my first rodeo. Helped me to obtain 3 degrees, not just by nourishing me with food and support, but also with love and working. This year we celebrate our 50th wedding anniversary. I'm sure that the family members we saw today did the same thing. While the work of my foundations have helped, this is where I'm going to do the critical piece, so listen up. While the work of my foundations has helped many individuals, it has not changed any system. Whatever it has achieved, it has done so alone. This is sobering to remember as we read this week's discouraging report on the Boston Public Schools, the principal feeder of students into UMass Boston. Is that not right, Chancellor? We depend on the Boston Public Schools. Over the years, hundreds of nonprofits have poured millions of dollars over countless decades and countless hours to reforming the BPS, each with their own separate strategies with little to no coordination. The BPS has asked little of us, content to get extra helping hands. This concerns not just BPS, but all of the students to whom various nonprofits attend. It reminds me of when my family helped serve food at Christmas on Venice Beach in California. That's not funny. We did that. We all were so eager to dish out the food that when the hungry sat down, they looked at an unappetizing mountain of goop. Is that what we nonprofits are doing in Boston? Collectively making goop? If so, UMass Boston could play a central role in untangling the mess. Perhaps it could create a center to systematically study and document what value nonprofits contribute, not to just to individual students, but to the BPS as a whole, and how to increase it going forward. Just creating a map of how all the nonprofits plug into the BPS would be a Herculean task. Sadly, it would demonstrate that we're not at all linked to each other. Given my time, which I really know is 3 to 5 minutes, I can only plant the seed here of what I'm talking about and must yield to your imaginations to develop the thought further. But I can still say, with your help, glory to UMass Boston. Let's hear it again. Glory to UMass Boston. Glory to UMass Boston. Glory to UMass Boston. Thank you. There are copies of this speech outside.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you for your 3 to 5 culturally constructed minutes. Also, thank you for reminding us of the beauty of the language of Victor Hugo and Zola, Balzac, and then there was Simone de Beauvoir, who taught Sartre really the important things. And Julia Kristeva, who taught Lacan the important things. It is a great pleasure, Bob, to present you your Doctor of Humane Letters from the University of Massachusetts, Boston. Finally, the recipient of our Chancellor's Medal for Distinguished Service and our 2022 commencement keynote speaker, the Honorable Michelle Wu, Mayor of Boston. The first woman, first person of color, and first Asian American elected to serve as Boston's mayor, Mayor Wu, has shaped an agenda of sweeping generational change, addressing many critically important policy issues like climate change, food security, education, housing. Mayor Wu could not be with us this evening, but will, of course, address the class of 2022 at the undergraduate ceremony tomorrow when she will receive the Chancellor's Medal. Thank you. Thank you again for celebrating with us this important evening with such extraordinary guests. For those joining us for the undergraduate and graduate commencement ceremonies tomorrow, I will see you bright and early, 7:45, at the Boston Convention and Exhibition Center. Good night, good evening. Thank you. Muchas gracias. Merci beaucoup. Thank you.